Today, I'm cutting one of the rarest gemstones of the corundum family. The corundum family is made up of ruby and sapphire, which are among the most desirable colored gemstones in the world, and round out the big three of colored gemstones, which are rubies, sapphires, and emeralds. Almost all sapphires are named for their color: blue sapphire, pink sapphire, yellow sapphire, orange sapphire, green sapphire, purple sapphire, and white sapphire. And black sapphire. Ruby, although also corundum, is not called red sapphire. It got its own name, ruby. And like ruby, Padparadscha also got its own name. Most Padparadscha gemstones are small, from 1 to 2 carats. Large Padparadscha gemstones are extremely valuable and rare. My piece of rough weighed in at 1.93 carats, and it has some issues internally that will cause me to lose additional rough to work out. And this is the same problem gem masters always seem to face. Do you cut a larger flawed gemstone or a smaller, less flawed or even clean gemstone? The world's largest Padparadscha is believed to be the 100.18 carat oval cut gem on display at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. In fact, all the colors of sapphire are on display at the American Museum of Natural History. The most famous Padparadscha is probably in the engagement ring that Princess Eugenie recently received from Jack Brooksbank. The couple was married in 2018. Interestingly, the Padparadscha Eugenie received is almost a twin of the Padparadscha that Eugenie's mother, Sarah Ferguson, was given by Eugenie's father, Prince Andrew, when they became engaged. Padparadscha is a rare mix of orange and pink, and there's a lot of debate on the exact right mix of colors that are needed to earn the name Padparadscha. Too much pink or too much orange, and some of the experts will not classify the stone as Padparadscha. The name Padparadscha is ancient and translates to lotus flower or lotus blossom. There is some discussion in the trade over changing the name to make the stone even more popular. So don't be too surprised if years and years from now you hear the term lotus blossom sapphire. A quick word of caution when buying Padparadscha. It is a rare gemstone, but lab-created sapphire is available. Lab-created sapphire uses the same chemical makeup as sapphire found in nature, so lab-created sapphire is sapphire. It's just not created by nature. So there is lab-created Padparadscha out there. So if you see an ad for a large Padparadscha for just a few dollars, you can be pretty sure, you can be certain, it is not natural Padparadscha. So don't be fooled. My advice when purchasing rare and expensive gemstones is to have them certified by a reputable organization like the AGTA, American Gem Trade Association. Sri Lanka was the original source of Padparadscha, and for centuries it was the only source of this coveted gemstone. Today, however, Padparadscha is also found in Madagascar and Tanzania, which has, of course, resulted in some experts insisting that true Padparadschas can only come from Sri Lanka, and this debate will go on forever. I will be using the Portuguese cut design to cut my Padparadscha because that's BOPIE'S favorite cut, and because I was lucky enough to have found a piece of rough that is suited for a round design. The Portuguese cut is a round design, but it has significantly more facets than a standard round brilliant or SRB design. And the SRB is the most common round design for cutting gemstones. The difference between a Portuguese cut and a SRB, standard round brilliant cut, are that the Portuguese faceting design may have 148 or 177 facets depending on the design, compared to a standard round brilliant faceting design which has only 73 facets, illustrates the increased time and effort needed to cut a Portuguese style gem. Unfortunately, there is no one place where you can find every gem cutting diagram out there, but one good place to look is at facetdiagrams.org. I won't spend a lot of time going over the design in this video, as I created a two-part video on how to read a gem faceting diagram, which you can look at if you have any questions on this design. You can see the extra effort that will be needed to cut a Portuguese by looking at the two diagrams side by side. I do recommend the Portuguese cut for new cutters, but not as their first round stone. I also recommend that all cutters, after you've cut a few stones, go ahead and cut a small stone. I know we all want to cut doorknobs, and it's a lot of fun to do that, but cutting small stones helps you round out your cutting skills. And there are times, especially when working with expensive or rare gemstone rough, that there's no option but to cut a small stone. For small stones, I would not recommend a Portuguese design, and I would opt for an SRB or standard round brilliant. But I'm making an exception in this case for this Padparadscha. And I'm fairly certain that this is the smallest Portuguese design gemstone I have cut. It's about 1.98 carats. Beautiful color, so we put it into our Ultra Tec. Now the Ultra Tec dops are all cut at a 45-degree angle at the end, and the reason is that later, after we cut the pavilion, which we're going to cut first, we will transfer the stone to another dop using our transfer jig, and because of that 45-degree angle, when we put it into the Ultra Tec, it's going to align it. It's only going to fit one way, and it's going to line up the bottom half, or the second dop. When we cut the top half of the stone, it's going to line it up so that top half and the bottom half are perfectly aligned with the girdle. So there's no mismatch between the top and the bottom half. It only goes one way. We're going to start with our ceramic lap, which is the flattest lap we have, and we're going to use the 600 diamond grit topper by High Tech. Okay, we've cut our first set of facets and made a kind of a point, and now we're going to go at a 90-degree angle and cut the girdle, which will set the width of the stone. So we changed direction of our lap. Normally we're cutting in the direction the dop is pointed, so normally we're cutting in a clockwise direction, but for the girdle we're going to cut it in a counterclockwise direction so that any water that spills out is not spilling towards us but is spilling away from us, and we minimize the amount of water that's spilling because by putting this sponge in here. And the water spills out because we have to pull down our drip tank, our drip guard here, so that the stone can make contact with the lap. If we didn't pull it down, we'd be hitting the rubber. So we just start our water drip, bring our speed up to about 500 RPMs. It'll go up all the way, the Ultra Tec will go up to 1,600 RPM. We only need about 500. And we just start cutting our girdle. So I'll switch to the 1000 grit crystallite and recut all these facets and go to the next set of facets. Okay, we've finished cutting our Padparadscha Sapphire with our 1200 grit crystallite lap. Now we're going to clean the lap by spin drying it. So first we put full stream of water, bring it up to full speed, get all the Schwarf sapphire grindings out of it, turn the water off and let it spin dry. And then we will go back and cut the girdles with our 3000 grit diamond on a bat lap. Once it's dry, you remove your crystallite. And this is a solid steel crystallite lap with 1200 diamond impregnated in it. We have finished cutting the bottom half, the pavilion of our Padparadscha Sapphire. We finished polishing it with 60,000 diamond grit, the pandemonium from Lotus on a bat lap. Put away our 60,000. Take our stone out of the Ultra Tec machine with the dop, the brass dop, and we're going to use our transfer jig and transfer using super glue. Now finished pavilion, we're going to put the adhesive on it in our transfer jig, and then we'll remove the top part and cut our crown. We put both halves in the transfer jig, push them together. I'm going to tighten up the bottom half and raise up the top half where the stone is. Loctite 401 super glue, and put a drop into the cone-shaped dop. One drop is fine. And we just gently push the top part, the top dop onto the bottom. Tighten it up. Make sure super glue is on both the stone and the dop all the way around. And it only takes a minute to set up, so I generally move it around until it's set up so that we don't have it flowing down the stone. Then we're ready to cut the top half of our stone. Okay, we've finished transferring our Padparadscha Sapphire and we're ready to cut the crown using I'll start with a crystallite 1200 because they're just so little that I need to grind off. And we have to check it often because we want to grind it down just until we're at 0.3 millimeters for the girdle. That'll leave us a nice girdle. On our wire diagram, or our wire gauge here, a 0.3 is right there. So just that gap, which you can't even see, my fingernail barely fits in it. That's how wide we want the girdle to be. Okay, so we finished using the 3000 grit diamond with a bat lap, and now I'll use the 14,000 grit diamond with a bat lap. It's coming along nicely with our Padparadscha. Put some water on it, a bit, and then I use our 14,000 grit pandemonium stick from Lotus. It has the 14,000 grit diamond embedded in it. Put a little bit on the lap. Put a real slow drip of water, 96 index, 42 degrees. Now 14,000 grit bat lap has taken out all the scratches from the 3,000 grit, so we're going to go around the stone with the 14,000, and then we'll use our 60,000 grit bat lap to polish it. Okay, we finished polishing all the crown except for the table, so now we're going to set up our Padparadscha to cut the table. So we remove the brass retainer screw that's holding the dop into our Ultra Tec machine. Move our dop. Built into the machine is a place to put your little retaining screw, because if you lose it, so little, easy to lose. So it stays right there. Now to set up for the table, we want a 90-degree angle, which is flat. So we've got our flattest lap, which is my ceramic. We've got the indicator set at 96 degrees. 45-degree angle. We need a 90 degree, so we use the Ultra Tec table adapter, which slides on here and the dop will go in here and will be 90 degrees because the adapter is also 45 degrees. We use this tool to make sure that our table adapter is flat on the lap, so that we cut a nice flat table. We tighten up the table adapter to our quill. Remove the tool to keep it flat. Put in our dot with our Padparadscha. I like to leave a little space in the bottom so I can fit my fingers in there. It's up to you. So for me, I've left enough space in there that I can fit my finger in to make sure I'm touching the stone as we're polishing it. And we're ready to go. So now we'll use the, there's very little for me to cut on it, on the table. I'll start with the 1200 just for a little bit, and then go to the 3000, 14,000, and 60,000 bat laps. I finished polishing the table of our Padparadscha, so I will soak it overnight in acetone. The stone's gonna come out, we'll weigh it, measure it, and send it off to BOPIE.